Okay, so this video is for Section B of 2019 media exam. The graph in black color is the one that is given, and you are supposed to find the gradient of this straight line. There are two ways to do it. First, you can use the formula to find the gradient using the coordinates of any 2 points. So you choose something that is convenient. In this case, points A and C are convenient. The other way, which is slightly easier, is if you rearrange the original equation into the form y equals to mx plus c. So we initially have x plus y equals to 2, and now we get y equals to negative x plus 2 by subtracting x on both sides. Then compare this with y equals to mx plus c. So this shows us that m, which represents the gradient, is negative 1, and the y-intercept, which is c, has a value of 2, and it corresponds with what is shown on the graph. So straight away we can get the gradient as negative 1. Drawing the graph of y equals to 2x plus 8 on the grid above. So in this case, they gave you a specific range that you must follow. You cannot draw beyond the range, otherwise there may be marks deducted. And now in this case, y equals to 2x plus 8, all you need to do is to draw a table, x and y. Make sure you give at least 3 different values of x, and find the corresponding value of y, plot them. Okay, so as you can see, once you manage to plot at least 3 points correctly, you get 1 mark. Joining the 3 points together gives you the second mark. Then you get 1 mark deducted if you do not label, or if you did not draw within the range of negative 4 to 1. The next portion says, hence solve the simultaneous equations. And what are these two equations? The first one we have is x plus y equal to 2. So x plus y equals to 2 is the original graph that was given, and they want you to use the next equation of y equals to 2x plus 8, which is what you have just drawn. So this word hence implies you must use your answer in part 1. Any other way of solving it, even if the answer is correct, you will not be awarded any marks. So in this case, solving the simultaneous equation just refers to finding the points of intersection, because the x and the y coordinates they're common for both graphs. They happen simultaneously for both graphs. Okay, so we can see straight away x equals to 2 and y equals to 4. Sorry, x equals to negative 2 here. Okay, so if you solve the simultaneous equations algebraically, which means either your substitution or your elimination, all these 0 marks, even though your answers are the same. So next portion, they say m lies below the x-axis and on the line x equals to negative 4. So x equals to negative 4 refers to a vertical line that has the x coordinate of negative 4. It's like a block, negative 4. So we need to find where this line is on the graph, and they gave you another clue that it lies below the x-axis. Then they further tell us that the area of the triangle ACM is 27 square units. So find the coordinates of m. Okay, at least we now know that the x coordinate is negative 4 based on the equation of the graph. Okay, go back to the diagram, remove all your unnecessary markings. So this is our line x equals to negative 4. We also know that it lies somewhere here. We just do not know the y coordinate. Then the area of the triangle is called ACM, 27 square units. Okay, so ACM, let me outline the triangle. A to C to M. I do not know where M is, so I'll just randomly choose a point. Let's call this point M with coordinates x coordinate is -4, y coordinate, let's call it simply y. So now we have a triangle with a perpendicular height that is shown on that is the same as the x-axis. This perpendicular height has a distance of, over here, 4 units, and then another 2 units, total of 6 units. So this is our base. Half times the base times the perpendicular height, which is we calculated to be 6, gives us 27 units. So using our algebra, we know that 6 divided by 2, we get 3 base equals to 27, which means that the length of the base equals to 9 units. So let's do a replacement over here. We have 9 units. Since the y coordinate of A is 6, we know that this being 6 units, then whatever is at the bottom of the x-axis must be 3 units. So we know that the y value is -3 because it lies below the x-axis. So that brings us to the coordinates of M, -4, -3. Next, scale drawing shows the positions of these 2 points, B and Q. So this is what you originally have. Then they tell us that there is a scale. 1 cm represents 150 kilometers. Okay, so now write the scale in the form 1:n, which means we do not want any units. If we don't want any units, before that the units have to be the same. So we need to convert our kilometers to centimeters. So do a conversion, and this is the answer. Then next, calculate the actual distance. If you manage to get the scale correct, you shouldn't have a problem with this. The other way is by using the original scale given. 1 cm represents 150 km. So on your paper, you have 5 cm. It will then represent 750 kilometers. Now we have a plane that leaves point Q, flies towards point M. We don't know where M is, but they tell us that QBM is 100 degrees, and it is 900 kilometers from point Q. So 100 degrees, let's go back to the diagram. Q to B, then to point M, being 100 degrees. You can either go this way, and this is our 100 degrees, or from point Q to point B, then the other direction. That is another 100 degrees. So it could be in any direction, either one of these two. Then they further tell us that the distance from point Q to point M is 900 kilometers. So what you need to do is to find the distance on the map that corresponds to 900 kilometers. So in this case, you need to multiply by 6, so 6 cm. So setting the pointer end of your compass here, measure out 6 cm on your ruler, draw an arc and another arc. So this actually forms a circle of radius 6 cm from this point. Okay, so this portion, 6 cm representing 900 km everywhere on the circle. 6 cm representing 900 kilometers. So we see that this circle actually cuts at these 2 points. So these are the 2 possible positions of point M. So label them clearly. Next portion, part D, find the actual area of MBQ in square kilometers, given that the area of the map area is 6.4 square centimeters. So we need to go back to our original ratio for length. So our usual approach map to actual. Then we are first talking about length. 1 cm, 150 kilometers. We need to square both of them to get a ratio of the area. So 1 square is just 1, then centimeters, you square it. Now we need to square 150. Then we have square kilometers. So from here, whatever this value is, 150 square, we will still need to multiply it by 6.4. Because on the map, it is 6.4 square centimeters only. So times 150 square and square kilometers. So from here, that is our answer. 144000. Okay, now making x the subject. Whenever you see x appearing in both the numerator and denominator, you have to remember that we have to get rid of the fraction. So that involves multiplying both sides by the denominators. So first, we also notice that the fraction is found inside the square root. So we need to remove the square root by squaring both sides. And then squaring both sides will result in p squared over q squared on the right hand side. Then we do the multiplication. So we need to bracket x minus 3 and 3x minus 1 as such. Then do your usual expansion. Then you rearrange. Get all the x terms onto the left hand side. So what they did not show you was putting them on the left hand side, xq squared minus 3x p squared. And you bring the remaining terms all to the right hand side. So adding positive 3q squared and minus p squared. Okay, so this is the step that they skipped that I'm inserting in for you. Then we would have to factorize the x term out because they want x to be the subject. So you factorize it out, leaving us with q squared minus 3p squared. So q squared minus 3p squared. Then since they want x to be the subject, just divide both sides by the q squared minus 3p squared. Once you manage to do that, just a simple substitution for p and q to give us the answer for x. The next one, factorize completely. When you see three terms that you're supposed to factorize, and when you see a square, you will have to use the grid like this and find out the values inside the four boxes. But before that, you realize that all of them have a common factor of a. So we should be factorizing out the a first. So that leaves us with x squared minus 2x minus 3. Okay, so as a recap, now that we want to factorize x squared minus 2x minus 3, the first box we will have x squared. Then simply you can put in your x and x already. Next box that we're going to fill in is your negative 3. So there are a few ways that we can get our negative 3. It could be a negative 1, positive 3, or positive 1, negative 3. But first, we're just going to put on the two factors without the negative sign. So let's just put it down as 1 and 3 first. So 3 times x gives me 3x. Next, 1 times x gives me x. Then we need to look at a question because they wanted a result of negative 2x. So looking at your 3x and your x, how do we then result in negative 2x? Then that has to come by inserting a negative sign into the 3x. So that negative 3x times x gives me negative 2x, which is what the question wants. And since we introduce a negative sign into for the 3x, we need to put a negative sign over here so that our negative 3 times our positive 1 gives us a negative 3. And now we have successfully factorized the quadratic to give us x minus 3 times x plus 1. Okay, as shown. Now the next portion says hence simplify. So hence you have no choice but to use whatever was found in the previous part. So you notice that this actually came from part 1. So you put out a result in part 1, then your division by a fraction is just keep the first term, then change the sign, divide 2 times, and flip everything over. So common mistake for the expansion of the denominator, this refers to negative 2y times negative 2y times negative 2y, which gives us negative 8y cubed, okay, as shown in the numerator here. And then you can continue with your usual cancellation. Next, there's a ball being rolled along a straight line. It travels 10 meters, average speed x minus 2 meters per second. Use your primary school knowledge, your triangle DST, it still works. So they want to find the time taken. So time equals to distance over speed. What is the distance? 10. What is the speed? X minus 2. Not difficult. So don't be scared of this unknown speed. Even what's worse is that it is an unknown minus 2. Okay, then now part B. John rolls the ball back and now it travels a different distance, 0.015 kilometers. So you times 1000 to 315 meters. Okay, so it's a different distance now, and the average speed is 1 meter per second, faster than the ball's average speed previously. So the average speed is now x minus 2 plus 1, which is simply x minus 1 meters per second. Now they want to find the time taken again. So time will be distance over speed. Now the distance 15 and the new speed x minus 1. So that's the answer. Then the next part, the time taken for John to catch the ball, then rolling it to pier is 2 seconds. So the total time, or the time taken between, okay, is 2 seconds. They want you to find the total time taken for the ball to travel from Ahmad to pier. Okay, so the total time, we need to add the 3 portions. First is from who started first? Okay, let's see. Look back at the question again. Ahmad to John, then John to Pierre. So Ahmad to John was this time. Then it was held on for 2 seconds. Then John to Pierre. So the total time, we add all of them up. So it's a test of whether you know how to add fractions with different denominators. In this case, x minus 2 and x minus 1, we need to convert all of them to the same denominator of x minus 2 times x minus 1. So be careful with your expansion and your simplification, and you will get the correct answer. Okay, now our statistics. So there are 120 children and they all ran 200 meters each. Then the time taken is recorded. So here we have grouped data. Data all grouped, all within a range, or different ranges. Then with the frequencies, data shown in the table. Let's find out the value of P, which is the frequency for the time range 24 to 26. So the frequency, read off the graph, you get 18. And for Q, 28 to 30, you get 28. So estimate of the mean, okay, you will need the mid value of each range. So be very careful. Sometimes the mid value is not common difference. So 27, 29, 31, 33. So what do I mean by that? You see over here there's a common difference of 2, 2, 2, 2 and 2. But in the 2018 paper, I think the difference was not consistent. So just be careful with that. So once you have the mid value, you multiply all the mid values with the corresponding frequencies. Okay, so 23 times 12, 25 times whatever P was. Okay, multiply these numbers together and we're going to add them up. Then we're going to divide by the total frequency. So this being a 2-mark question requires us to show the working and the final answer. If the answer is exact, there is no need to round off the final answer. So explain why the mean is an estimate. So put a star over here. Very popular question. This mean is an estimate, okay, because of the nature of the group data. By gathering the data and presenting it in groups, we lost all the raw information. We don't know how many people exactly ran, for example, 22 seconds, exactly how many ran 23.5 seconds, but they're all grouped together under the frequency of 12. So how do we present that? We said that the actual value or the raw data is not known. Then the second portion, the mean value of the time was used to calculate the mean. So these are the 2 points you need to put. So the median interval, find the middle position first. Every time you need to find the median, you need to find the median position. So since there are 120 children, the middle or median, median position, will be 120 plus 1 over 2. So that will be 60.5. Where is the number 60.5 person? You find that person and you find out what his time is. In this case, they're asking for the interval. Okay, so 60.5. P has a value of 18. So this gives us a total of 30 already. Until this interval, we've got 52. And Q has a value of 28. Okay, so the last person in this interval is number 52. Whereas the last person in this interval is 52 plus 28 to give us 80. Number 80. So I can be sure number 60.5 lies within this interval. So it's from 28 to 30, including 28, excluding 30. Okay, now we have a pie chart. So fraction of the students in group C. This is 42 degrees out of 360. So it is just a fraction. Now they tell us the number of students in group B is 21. Total number of students in these 5 groups. Okay, now this represents 21 students. Now they further tell us that in the question, this is 35%. So 35% represents 21 students. So 100% must represent 60 students. Then the number of students in group E. Okay, so once you have all the proportion, you can slowly find out all the different groups and get the answer. Okay, our direct proportion and indirect proportion. So x is directly proportional to the square of y. We can straight away write down our formula. So x equals to ky square. Then they tell us that x equals to 6 for a particular value of y. Okay, so can ignore this presentation. X equals to 6. So an old x value of 6 equals to k times an old value of y, we square it. Now x is increased by 300%. Y is increased by 300%. When y is increased by 300%, the new y equals to 4 times of the old y. Because when you increase by 100%, you're actually doubling it. You increase by 200%, you actually triple it. When you increase by 300%, you times 4 of the original. So that is a new value of y. Okay, so back to our equation after we have substituted in the old value of x and the old value of y. We have found that k is actually equal to 6 over the square of the old y. We substitute this back into our equation to update it. So we have x equals to k is replaced with 6 over the square of the old y multiplied by whatever is the new value for y. Okay, now we're going to find the value of x. Okay, so do the substitution. The new value of x new 6 over the square of the old y multiplied by the square of the new y, which is 4 times of the old y. We're going to square this. After you expand, you get 6 over y0 square, 16 y0 with a square, which is 6 times 16 to give us 96. So the percentage increase, once you manage to get 96 as the new value for y, the percentage increase will just be 96 minus 6, 6 being the original, that gives us 90, divided by the original times 100%. And this here, I forgot to write the percentage symbol. Okay, now how do we show that y is directly proportional to x? We have seen quite a number of these type of questions in our notes. All we need to do is to either show that y over x equals to constant, or show y equals to kx where k is constant. Okay, next one, final question. 6 workers, they take 5 days to complete a task. Then the task is to be completed in D days. Write the number of in terms of D number of workers required to complete the task. So instead of direct proportion, we have indirect proportion, where it is a case of the more number of workers you have, the shorter the time, the fewer the days required. Then the other way around, the more the days required, it implies that you have fewer workers. Okay, so we can let. Okay, so of course this presentation over here by the setter is fine also, but you can also use some algebra to make things clearer for you. So let W be number of workers. Okay, so the number of workers is indirectly proportional to, or inversely proportional to, so k over the number of days. Now we are going to find out the value of k by substituting in the known values. So number of workers being 6 equals to k over the value for D is 5. So k has a value of 30. We're going to update our formula. Now number of workers will be 30 over D. Then now they want us to find out in terms of D number of workers required. Okay, so we have the answer already. 30 over D.